The obsidian chamber hummed with suppressed energy, a cathedral of anxieties etched into the very structure of its being. Around the circular dais, the Xylar Council convened, their multifaceted eyes glinting with a mixture of apprehension and reluctant curiosity. The air thrummed with silent debate, a consensus sought, but as elusive as the nebulae that birthed their civilization. At the center of the dais, holographic projections flickered, depicting schematics, sensor readings, and fragmented transmissions. All pointed to the same source, the human vessel designated Hope's Bastion, currently orbiting the contested moon of Cygnus 7. Counselor Lyra, her chitinous face etched with concern, broke the silence. We have observed their actions for weeks, esteemed colleagues. The vessel's purpose remains unclear. It emits no signals of aggression, yet its presence disrupts the strategic balance we have meticulously maintained in this sector. Her voice, modulated through a vocal synthesizer, echoed in the vast space. Their technology, it defies our understanding. Sensor readings fluctuate wildly, suggesting capabilities far exceeding our initial assessments. Lyra paused, allowing her words to sink in. We underestimated them. Counselor Vorlag, a towering figure with crystalline protrusions adorning his head, scoffed. Underestimated? Please, Lyra, we possess millennia of strategic experience. These, humans, are a fledgling species, barely scratching the surface of interstellar travel. Their unpredictable behavior is merely a reflection of their technological immaturity. Lyra tilted her head, a gesture of subtle disagreement. Perhaps Vorlag, but their resilience is undeniable. The attack on their colony ship, the Daedalus, was brutal, unprovoked. Yet they did not retaliate, they rebuilt, they adapted. And now this vessel, it remains a silent sentinel, observing, learning. I fear we are misinterpreting their intentions. The holographic projections shifted, focusing on a series of images. Human faces, contorted in expressions of pain and determination, extracted from the Daedalus distress beacon recordings. The council members regarded the images with a mixture of fascination and unease. There was a rawness to their features, an intensity in their eyes that seemed to defy their apparent technological limitations. The reports indicate they are healing, Counselor Thuron, a bioengineer, stated, his voice laced with a hint of morbid curiosity. They sustained catastrophic injuries during the attack, injuries that would have been fatal to any Xylar, yet they not only survived but are actively repairing their bodies, adapting to the trauma. Their biological systems are remarkably robust. Vorlag remained unconvinced. Robust, perhaps, but not invulnerable. We possess weaponry capable of obliterating entire planets. They are but a fleeting nuisance, easily extinguished should they pose a threat. He gestured dismissively. Their silence is likely a sign of weakness, of fear. They are attempting to appear strong, hoping to deter us from further action. The debate continued, a clash of perspectives fueled by incomplete information and ingrained biases. Some argued for caution, advocating for diplomatic contact. Others, like Vorlag, favored a preemptive strike, seeking to eliminate a potential threat before it could fully materialize. The specter of the Great Galactic War hung heavy in the chamber, a grim reminder of the devastating consequences of underestimating an enemy. Deep within the sterile, brightly lit corridors of Hope's Bastion, Dr. Aris Thorn meticulously calibrated a bioregenerative unit. He was a man of quiet intensity, his face etched with the weariness of countless hours spent battling entropy and decay. Around him, the ship hummed with the quiet industry of healing. Wounded colonists, their bodies scarred and broken from the attack on the Daedalus, lay in stasis pods, undergoing accelerated cellular regeneration. Thorn moved with a practiced grace, his hands performing intricate procedures with unwavering precision. Dr. Thorn, a calm voice echoed from the comm system. Incoming transmission from the Xylar battle cruiser Dominion. They are requesting an audience. Thorn paused, his expression unreadable. He had anticipated this moment. The Xylar, a species known for their strategic ruthlessness, would undoubtedly be curious about the presence of a human vessel in their territory. Patch them through, he replied, his voice betraying no emotion. On the main view screen, the image of a Xylar officer materialized. The officer's multifaceted eyes regarded Thorn with cold scrutiny. Greetings, humans. I am Commander Zill of the Xylar battle cruiser Dominion. State your purpose in this sector. Thorn met the officer's gaze, his own eyes reflecting a quiet strength. We are medical personnel, Commander. Our mission is to provide aid to the survivors of the Daedalus attack. We pose no threat to your interests. Zill's expression remained impassive. Your presence is destabilizing. This sector is under Xylar control. I order you to leave immediately. Thorn maintained his composure. With all due respect, Commander, we cannot abandon our patients. They require continued medical care. We will remain here until they are fully recovered. Zill's eyes narrowed. You defy a direct order. You are playing a dangerous game, human. We are merely attempting to save lives, Commander, Thorn replied, his voice unwavering. Is that truly so offensive to your sensibilities? The transmission ended abruptly. Thorn knew that the Xylar would not be easily dissuaded. Their history was one of territorial expansion and strategic dominance. They would perceive his refusal as an act of defiance, a challenge to their authority. He braced himself for the inevitable confrontation. Back in the obsidian chamber, the Xylar Council listened intently to the recording of the exchange between Thorn and Zill. The tension in the room was palpable. He refuses to comply, Zill reported, his voice tinged with frustration. He claims to be a medical vessel, but his defiance suggests a more sinister motive. Vorlag seized the opportunity. I told you, they are testing us. They seek to undermine our authority. We must act decisively. Order the Dominion to disable their vessel. Show them the consequences of their insolence. Lyra objected. That would be a grave mistake, Vorlag. Attacking a medical vessel would violate established galactic protocols. It would invite condemnation from the other species, isolate us diplomatically. Diplomacy, Vorlag scoffed. Diplomacy is a tool for the weak. We are the Xylar. We command respect through strength. We do not cower before the whims of lesser species. The debate raged on, mirroring the internal conflict that had plagued the Xylar for centuries. The struggle between pragmatism and aggression, between diplomacy and domination. The decision hung in the balance, one that could determine the fate of both the Xylar and the humans. Zill, acting on Vorlag's implicit orders, authorized a limited engagement, disabling fire targeted at Hope's bastions, shields, and communication arrays. He assured himself that this was a measured response, a demonstration of force intended to intimidate rather than destroy. However, the Xylar underestimated the capabilities of human technology once again. The energy weapon, a weapon that could cripple a warship with ease, impacted Hope's bastions' shields. The shields flared, buckled, and held. Then something unexpected occurred. A pulse of energy emanating from the human vessel washed over the Dominion, disrupting its sensor systems and momentarily disabling its weapons. It was a defensive measure, a non-lethal countermeasure designed to neutralize the immediate threat. Zill was stunned. He had never encountered anything like it. The human vessel, a supposed medical ship, possessed defensive capabilities that rivaled those of a battle cruiser. He realized with a sinking feeling that he had made a terrible miscalculation. On Hope's bastion, alarms blared as the ship's systems registered the incoming attack. Thorn, his face grim, issued orders with calm precision. Redirect power to the shields, activate the ECM systems, prepare for evasive maneuvers. He knew that they could not withstand a sustained assault. Their primary mission was to protect the patients in stasis. He had to buy them time to complete their treatment, time to escape. The Dominion unleashed another barrage of energy weapons. This time the shields faltered, overloaded. One of the beams struck the ship's hull, breaching a containment field. The alarms grew louder, more urgent. We have a breach in Sector 7, Doctor, a crew member reported. Containment field is down. Several patients are at risk. Thorn felt a surge of adrenaline. He had to act quickly. He grabbed a medkit and rushed towards Sector 7, his movements swift and purposeful. He reached the breached containment field to find the area in chaos. One of the stasis pods had been damaged, releasing its occupant. A young woman named Alara, her body still weak and vulnerable. She lay on the floor, coughing and disoriented. Ilara, Thorn cried out, rushing to her side. Are you all right? Ilara looked up at him, her eyes filled with fear. What happened? We've been attacked, Thorn explained, his voice calm but urgent. I need you to stay calm. I'm going to get you to safety. Suddenly, a section of the hull plating buckled and collapsed, revealing a group of Xylar soldiers who had managed to board the ship. They raised their weapons, their multifaceted eyes gleaming with predatory intent. Humans, their leader snarled. Surrender, your resistance is futile. Thorn stood protectively in front of Alara, his eyes blazing with defiance. "You will not harm her," he said, his voice low and dangerous. The Xylar soldiers opened fire. Thorn moved with lightning speed, dodging the energy blasts and returning fire with his sidearm. He was a skilled marksman, trained in close-quarters combat. He took down several of the soldiers with precise shots, his movements fluid and deadly. But he was outnumbered. The Xylar soldiers pressed their attack, their energy weapons scorching the metal walls around him. He knew that he could not hold them off forever. Then something extraordinary happened. Alara, despite her weakened state, rose to her feet. Her eyes glowed with an inner light, her body radiating a palpable energy. She raised her hands, and a wave of force emanated from her, pushing the Xylar soldiers back against the wall. They cried out in pain, their bodies convulsing. Alara's eyes grew brighter, her power intensifying. She was a latent psionic, a rare individual with the ability to manipulate energy with her mind. Her abilities had been triggered by the trauma of the attack, awakened by the desperate need to protect herself and those around her. Thorn watched in awe as Alara single-handedly disabled the Xylar soldiers. He had known that some humans possessed psionic abilities, but he had never witnessed such a display of raw power. The remaining Xylar soldiers, realizing that they were outmatched, retreated in disarray. Thorn helped Alara to her feet, his expression filled with concern. "Are you all right?" he asked. Alara nodded, her breathing ragged. I think so. What was that?" "That was you, Alara," Thorn replied, his voice filled with admiration. "You saved us." Back on the Dominion, Zil watched the events unfold through the ship's sensors. He was horrified by what he saw. The human woman, the one who had been injured, possessed extraordinary powers. She had single-handedly defeated his soldiers, using abilities that defied all logical explanation. He realized that he was facing something far more dangerous than he had ever imagined. The humans were not merely a fledgling species clinging to survival. They were a species with hidden potential, a species capable of extraordinary feats. He knew that he had to report this to the Council immediately. This was not a matter to be taken lightly. The future of the Xylar Empire might depend on how they responded to this new threat. In the Obsidian Chamber, the Council members listened in stunned silence to Zil's report. The holographic projections now showed Alara, her eyes glowing with psionic energy, disabling the Xylar soldiers. Vorlag was speechless. His face, usually contorted with arrogance, was now etched with disbelief. He had been wrong, terribly wrong. The humans were not weak. They were not easily extinguished. They were a force to be reckoned with. Lyra, on the other hand, felt a sense of hope. She had always believed that there was more to the humans than met the eye. She had sensed their resilience, their adaptability, their hidden potential. Now, her suspicions had been confirmed. "This changes everything," she said, her voice filled with a newfound sense of urgency. "We must reevaluate our approach. We cannot afford to underestimate them any longer." The Council members nodded in agreement. The reality of the situation had finally sunk in. The humans were not a threat to be eliminated. They were a species to be understood, a species with the potential to become valuable allies. The Council reached a consensus. They would offer the humans a formal apology for the attack on their vessel and extend an invitation for diplomatic negotiations. They would seek to establish a peaceful relationship, a partnership based on mutual respect and understanding. Zil, acting on the Council's orders, transmitted a message to Hope's Bastion. He apologized for the attack, attributing it to a misunderstanding. He offered reparations for the damages caused and requested a meeting with the human representatives. Thorn, after consulting with Alara and the other survivors, accepted the offer. He knew that it was a risky move, but he believed that it was the only way to ensure the safety of his people. He agreed to meet with the Xylar representatives on a neutral space station. The meeting was tense but ultimately productive. Thorn and Lyra, representing their respective species, engaged in lengthy discussions, seeking to bridge the cultural gaps that had separated them. They spoke of their histories, their beliefs, their aspirations. Thorn explained the human philosophy of compassion, their commitment to healing and protecting the innocent. He emphasized that they had no desire for conquest or domination. They merely sought to live in peace, to explore the universe, to learn and grow. Lyra, in turn, explained the Xylar's strategic pragmatism, their emphasis on order and control. She acknowledged that their initial assessment of the humans had been flawed, based on incomplete information and ingrained biases. She expressed her sincere regret for the attack on Hope's Bastion and pledged to ensure that such an incident would never happen again. As the negotiations progressed, a bond of mutual respect began to form between Thorn and Lyra. They recognized that their species, despite their differences, shared a common desire to survive and thrive in a dangerous universe. They agreed to establish a formal alliance, a partnership that would benefit both the humans and the Xylar. But the alliance was merely the beginning. As the two species began to share knowledge and technology, they stumbled upon a discovery that would forever alter their understanding of the universe. Deep within the Cygnus 7 system, hidden beneath the surface of a desolate asteroid, they uncovered an ancient artifact, a massive, abandoned megastructure of unknown origin. The megastructure was unlike anything they had ever seen. It was vast, intricate, and clearly of artificial construction. Its purpose remained a mystery, but its presence hinted at a civilization far more advanced than anything they could have imagined. As they delved deeper into the mystery of the megastructure, they discovered a hidden chamber. Within the chamber, they found a console containing a single message, encoded in a language that defied all known decryption methods. Thorn and Lyra, working together, eventually managed to decipher the message. It was a warning, a desperate plea from a long-vanished civilization. The message spoke of a cosmic threat, a force of unimaginable power that consumed entire galaxies. The force was described as a great silence, an entity that propagated not through warfare, but through an insidious form of cosmic assimilation. It silenced entire civilizations by converting them into extensions of its own consciousness, erasing their individuality and their memories. The megastructure was built as a last-ditch effort to send out a warning to the rest of the galaxy, to alert other species to the impending danger. But the message was sent too late. The civilization that built the megastructure was consumed by the Great Silence, leaving only the artifact as a testament to their existence. The discovery of the megastructure and the warning message sent shockwaves throughout the human and Xylar civilizations. The two species realized that they were facing a threat far greater than anything they had ever imagined. They knew that they had to act quickly if they were to have any chance of survival. They formed a joint task force, combining their technological expertise and their strategic acumen to investigate the Great Silence. They sent out probes to distant galaxies, searching for signs of its presence. They studied the ancient language and the technology of the civilization that built the megastructure, hoping to learn how to defend themselves. As they delved deeper into the mystery, they discovered that the humans possessed a unique advantage. The psionic abilities that had manifested in Alara and other individuals were a potential weapon against the Great Silence. The ability to manipulate energy with the mind, to tap into the fundamental forces of the universe, could potentially disrupt the Great Silence's control over its assimilated civilizations. Alara, now a symbol of hope for both the humans and the Xylar, dedicated herself to mastering her psionic abilities. She trained with other psionics, honing their skills, developing new techniques, learning how to channel their energy to defend against the Great Silence. The humans and the Xylar prepared for war, not a war of conquest or domination, but a war for survival. They knew that the odds were stacked against them, that they were facing a force that had consumed countless civilizations. But they refused to give up. They would fight to protect their freedom, their individuality, their very existence. As the shadow of the Great Silence loomed over the galaxy, the alliance between the humans and the Xylar grew stronger. They had learned to trust each other, to respect each other, to rely on each other. They had discovered that their differences were not weaknesses, but strengths. The human compassion, the Xylar pragmatism, the psionic abilities, the technological expertise, all combined to form a formidable force. The fate of the galaxy rested on their shoulders. They were the last hope, the last bastion of light in the face of the encroaching darkness. They would fight with all their might, with all their courage, with all their hope. They would not surrender. They would not be silenced. They would stand together, united against the Great Silence, and they would fight for the future of the universe. And it was then, gazing at the data feeds of consumed galaxies, the swirling cosmic dust of extinguished stars, that Dr. Thorne realized the unspoken horror. The Deathworlder Hospital, Hope's Bastion, was not simply a place of healing. It was a strategic adaptation, a place where humanity, facing extinction, experimented with and cultivated abilities born of desperation, pain, and loss. The Xylar attack had not revealed a weakness, but unleashed a weapon far more potent than any battleship. The capacity to not only endure unimaginable suffering, but to weaponize it. They had never encountered a species that could truly leverage death itself. And that was the ultimate terrifying beauty of it.